Fine, good morning to you all students. Hi students, how are you? I hope you all are fine and you all are doing well. So warm greetings to you all students. I hope by God's grace you all are safe. So pray to God for your health, for your parents, studies and everything. Okay. So welcome to our today's online class students. So till this I have completed chapter 1. Till last class I have completed chapter 1. Okay. So in the chapter 1 while I am taking class itself I used to say these are the important questions and also I asked you to keep separate notebook for the computer subject. And also I asked you to write daily portions in your notebook since you didn't get the textbook. So have you all noted down what are the questions I said to write? So please write daily portions. Okay. So then chapter 1 I have completed. Chapter 2 is fully based on maths, that is mathematical problems. Okay. So what I am thinking is, so from chapter 3 to 9. Okay, I am going to take chapter 3 to 9 first. Then after completion of 9th chapter, I am going to take chapter 2. Because chapter 3 to, sorry, not 9, 8. Because chapter 3 to 8 fully theory. Okay, so third chapter is fully related what you have studied in chapter 1. Okay, so chapter 3 to 8 I'll take. After completion of the 8th chapter, I'm going to take the second chapter. Okay, because second chapter is fully mathematical problems. Understood students? So today we are going to study about new chapter, chapter 3. Okay, so what's the title of our chapter mean? Computer organization. Okay, so what's the title of the first chapter? Introduction to computers. So first chapter fully you have studied about what do you mean by computer, then what are the hardware parts is there, what are the input device, output device, etc, etc, what are the internal working of the computer, everything you have just outline you have studied, isn't it? So this chapter you are going to study each and every parts, that is internal working. Okay, this chapter fully deals with the CPU. So which is the major component of a computer? So which is the major component of a computer, please say? CPU, isn't it? So this chapter fully purely based on, so what are the things present inside CPU and what's the working of each and everything. Understood? So only I'm going to take this third chapter because first chapter and third chapter is closely interrelated. Okay, so now you know what do you mean by computer. So what's the appearance of computer? So what's the appearance of CPU? What do you mean by keyboard? So what are things will be present in the keyboard? Then what's the use of mouse? What's the use of input device? What's the use of output device? So what's the internal working? Each and everything you have studied. Okay, so this chapter fully you are going to study about internal working. So that is called organization. So normally, so what's the meaning of organization? So for example, take one institution will be there. So in that institution, particular organizers or organized peoples will be there. So third persons will look after the institution. This way the institution needs to run, isn't it? Same way, computer also one organizer will be there. So what's the use of that organizer? That organizer will always monitor whether all the devices or all the connections are working properly. Understood? So in this chapter, you are going to study each and everything in detail. Okay, so first we are going to see about introduction of the chapter. Okay, so this computer organization, that means this chapter fully deals with hardware components, not any software. Not you are going to study about any software in this chapter. Only you are going to study about what? Hardware. What do you mean by hardware? Hardware means physical components. That means the what are the devices you are seen by your eyes. That is monitor, mouse, keyboard, CPU, inside the CPU, motherboard, then register, etc, etc. Okay, so this computer organization mainly deals with which one? Hardware components of the computer, not any software components. Always it will deals with one? Hardware components of the computer. Okay, how the computer will work? So three parts, it is divided into three parts. Are you remembering? Now Just remember the definition of a computer. Okay, define computer and block diagram I said to remember. What's a block diagram? Input, processing, output. Isn't it? So always the computer will get or take the input from the users. Then after taking or getting the input, the computer will process the data. After processing, the computer will give output. Then, so what are the things it is processing? It will store in what? In the memory. What's the use for storing in memory? For example, you are studying one question. So if you are studying thorough means, so that question will be stored in where? In your memory, brain, isn't it? So that same question, if called for the examination, means you will recall. Your brain will recall at that time. So I'll study or remember this question, isn't it? So same process, the computer processing, after completion of processing, computer will store the data in where? In the memory. Understood? So what are the devices are mainly included here? Input means input unit means input, and input devices you need. If you need to get output means output device you need to get. Then processing is done by whom? CPU. Processing is central processing unit, that is CPU. Then a memory, if you need to store, means how many types of memory you have studied? 2 types, isn't it? Primary memory as well as secondary memory. So what are the hardware components you are going to study detail in this chapter? Input and output devices. So in CPU, then storage device and memory device. Understood the outline of this chapter? Okay. Then, and also this chapter will deals with how many, that is various components of a computer hardware. For example, if you are taking on a device or one component called a keyboard. So by external appearance you are saying this is keyboard. So this much of keys will be there. So here number keys are there, then alphabetical keys are there, symbol keys are there, function key. By external appearance you can point out this and things. But if the keyboard needs to work properly means, so the internal connections, board, everything needs to be in proper manner, work in proper manner, then only the keyboard will work properly. This is a simple example. Not only keyboard, mouse, whatever may be. So the internal working is correct means only the particular device will work properly, isn't it? So this computer organization mainly deals with the components. What are the components of a computer? And also, so it deals with how the components are interconnected to the computer. Okay, maybe a motherboard or SMBS or in CPU, lot of components will be there. Okay, so how the components are interconnected with the computer. This and all you are going to study detail in which chapter? This computer organization. Okay, so simply if for example you are going to implement some new thing. Okay, or you are going to inventing some new thing. Whatever inventions, whatever thing, so just a thing, first you will draw a diagram, isn't it? For example, you are going to build a new house. So what's the procedure? Before you are going to build a house, so you will give to some civil engineer to draw a plan for the house, isn't it? Is it true or not? Yes. So before you are going to build a house, you need a proper plan. Then based on the proper plan only, the engineer will do the construction work, isn't it? Same way, so if you are going to inventing something or you are going to devise something, so the computer, if you are going to inventing something, so each and everything will have some architecture. Okay, so architecture is nothing but simple, same like a block diagram. So what's the use of block diagram? So you are explaining one big detailed question in physics. Okay, so say for example you are working on you are going to write one question called X-ray or a scan machine or a microscope, whatever may be. Okay, so the same theory part, whatever you are explaining, same thing you will draw in a diagram, isn't it? So the theory and the diagram will match. Same thing in the computer organization also deals with what? Computer architecture. That means how the external structure, how the internal working. Okay, so and also this architecture will give engineering considerations. Okay, what do you mean by engineering considerations? For example, for building a house, the plan will give the better idea for the engineer to build a new house, isn't it? Same way, this computer architecture will give good idea for the person who is going to design the computer. So based on the architecture only the person will design the computer. Okay, so and also that's the one part. Next, so if the computer needs to work properly means software also you need to install. So it will give a clear idea to the programmer also. So what's the use of programmer or software designer? So software designer or programmer will write programs or create softwares. Understood the introduction part? Okay. So next you are going to study about microprocessor. Okay. So what's the first thing you are going to study in this chapter means microprocessor. Have you seen the picture of the microprocessor at the top? Have you seen that black color some pins are there? Yes. So that's the real image of the microprocessor image. Okay, so where this microprocessor will located means inside the CPU one motherboard, one part will be there. I'll show that picture also. In the next slide I'm going to display that picture also. Okay, so in that motherboard this microprocessor will connected, or this microprocessor is connected in which part? A motherboard. Okay, so if you are saying a computer means which is a major component of your computer? So suddenly if a person asks the questions to you, which is a major component of your computer, what you will see? CPU. That you know, isn't it? So CPU is the major component of a computer because all the processing is done in where? In the CPU. So this CPU only will perform what? All the tasks. Okay, so to perform all the tasks properly, so you need a proper microprocessor. So in simple words we are telling that so the computer needs to work properly means the CPU needs to work properly. Isn't which is a major component? CPU. So inside the CPU lot of tiny components are there. So among that one component is what? Microprocessor. Okay. So if the computer needs to work properly means so which one is a very important thing? Microprocessor. So this microprocessor is devised on the motherboard using integrated circuit. Okay, just like a circuit, they will implant this microprocessor in the motherboard using what? Some electrical circuit, you know, no? In physics and all you might have studied integrated circuit. That is AND gate, OR gate. Okay, so likewise integrated circuit, this microprocessor will located in the motherboard. Okay, so this very important one mark question. See that third line. Microprocessor was introduced in which year means 1970. Okay, so microprocessor was invented in which year? 1970. Please note it down, that is important one mark question. Then next also very important one mark question. The first they have designed a microprocessor. That microprocessor name is 4004. Okay, so 4004. Nowadays lot of microprocessor is there. 805, 806, 8044. That's the name of the microprocessor. Okay, nothing but that's the name of the microprocessor. They will give they will give some numbers. Okay, so first they are invented on microprocessor. What's the name? 4004. So this microprocessor developed by which company means Intel Inc. Okay, which company? Intel Inc. Please underline it. This is all important one mark question. Which company has introduced this microprocessor? Intel 4004. Intel Inc. Understood? So, what are things we have studied here? CPU is the major component of the computer. This CPU only perform what? All the tasks. Okay. So, if the CPU needs to work properly means which is the major component inside the CPU? Microprocessor. Okay. So, this microprocessor implanted in which one? Motherboard using which circuit? Integrated circuit. Okay. The microprocessor was introduced in which year first? 1970. Okay, what's the name of the first microprocessor they introduced? That is microprocessor 4004. So this microprocessor devised by which company? Intel Inc. Understood? Here the two that microprocessor introduced in year 1970. Important one mark question. Then first general purpose microprocessor 4004 was developed by which company? Dash Intel Inc. That is also important one mark question. Understood? See, so this is the image, real image of the motherboard. Understood? This is the real image of the motherboard. So have you seen it? So in this picture have you seen? So that black color portion have you seen? See this aroma? This is the microprocessor. Have you seen? Here, So lot of microprocessor. Have you seen that black color portions? That is microprocessor. This board we can call as a what? Motherboard of a computer. So all the processing is done in where? In the motherboard. In this motherboard only you are going to insert a RAM, ROM, everything. Memory, everything. So inside this motherboard only you are going to implant. So all the black color, that this and all. Okay. Black color ports are what? This is microprocessor, this is microprocessor. Okay. So all that is called microprocessor. So that pin is implanted. So this and all, have you seen that green color line? So green color, that green with whitish line, have you seen? That is called integrated circuit. So each and everything is connected in integrated circuit. Understood? Then, so how this microprocessor will work? Okay, so this microprocessor is a programmable multi-purpose silicon chip. We can call that as a chip. Okay, so it's a black color, that pins are there, no? So that we can call as a what? Silicon chip. Multi-purpose. You can use for more purpose, more number of purpose, or more than one purpose. That is multi-purpose silicon chip. And also important thing, programmable. What do you mean by programmable? So first itself, the microprocessor is programmed and insert in the motherboard. Okay, pre-programmed. That is, the once you are devising that one, first itself, what are for example, so that microprocessor, for example 4004 microprocessor, first they device, no? So they have the idea, this microprocessor will do this work. So they will, based on that, they will program and they will insert the program in the silicon chip or microprocessor. Okay, how it will work means by clock pulse. Clock pulse means normal timing. Second, minutes, seconds we are telling, no? Same way that microprocessor needs to work based on which one? Clock pulse. Okay, so this microprocessor will always accepts a binary data as the input. Already have studied computer, whatever things you are giving as the input, it is converted in which data? Binary data. What do you mean by binary data? Ones and zeros. Okay, so after getting the, for example, you are giving one letter hi. So the word hi is converted to a binary data. For example, 101. So the particular word is converted to numbers, bits, that is ones and zeros. After that your information is converting into binary data, it will process, that is inside the CPU, that so the microprocessor will accept as which one? Binary data. After that it will process the data. Then it will give one output. After giving the output, where it will store? In the memory. Okay, this is a common working of a computer. You will give input, then after giving the input, the microprocessor will, they will process the data, then after processing it will store in the memory for further use, then the user will get the output. Okay, the same thing they have given in the block diagram also. See, so see that input box, the user is giving some input. So if you are giving input, who is accepting the input now? Who is accepting the input? Microprocessor. Okay, so what type of, maybe 404 or 805 or 8081, whatever maybe. So that microprocessor will accept the input data. So what says a microprocessor? It will convert which one? Giving input data into which format? Binary format. Okay, then based on that binary format, it will process that. This microprocessor will process the data. After processing, what it will do? It will store in where? Here, see that down where? Memory, isn't it? So for further use, it will store in memory. Then afterwards, it will give to whom? Output. That is output to the user. Understood? This is the common working of a computer also, and also it's the same thing only. So you are giving input, the microprocessor is accepting input as the binary data. After then microprocessor will process the data and store in the memory for further use. Then the user will get what? Output for the event. Understood? Okay, up to this enough for today's portion, I think it's so. So today only you have studied, what are things you have studied? So what's the just introduction of this chapter, computer organization, isn't it? Then what's the important thing you have studied in computer organization? Microprocessor. Then you have studied the picture of the microprocessor, isn't it? Then in which year they have invented? 1970. Which is the first microprocessor? 4004, isn't it? Then you have studied about the block diagram of that working of that microprocessor, how the microprocessor will work. It will access the input data and processing and will store in memory for the further use, and it will give the output to the user. Okay, so today no need to mug up anything, just remember this block diagram and what's the use of microprocessor, that's enough. Okay, so remaining thing I'll continue in the remaining portions I'll continue in the next class. Thank you students, take care.